What up YouTube, this is Radiant Sealer and I'm here with a constructive, I think I would call it, deck profile. This is a tri-colored hero deck for Star Wars Destiny. I am running this at a 14-point Poe Dameron, an 8-point Padawan, and a 8-point hired gun, making a total of 30 points. The deck has 21 health, plus the 7 from the Padawan, equaling 28 health, so it's pretty tanky to go off with. Individual characters are easily to kill off. Most people tend to focus off the Padawan early, meaning that playing this deck in general means you should put upgrades on the hired gun and Poe Dameron. Specifically, hired gun gets to stay around because people tend to underestimate him at my local game store. So my strategy so far has been build up this guy and then pump him and then bang, opponent goes down. So the tactic overall is to use the special of Poe Dameron with tons of upgrades and support cards to go for an aggro timed victory. With this much health, other aggro decks are going to be at a disadvantage because the deck is so hard to kill off once it gets going crazy. And it has a lot of, actually for an aggro deck, defensive cards to use with Poe Dameron's special ability. So the Padawan's power is here because it reduces the cost of weapons by 1 once she's not upgraded, making every single weapon in the deck a 1 or 2 or 0 cost weapon, meaning you can play any weapon on her during the first turn of the game, meaning that you get the aggro potential to just start slicing with like a lightsaber, a raised staff, blasting with a blaster pistol. It doesn't really matter which of them it is, because the point is that she's built up. Your opponent sees that they have to go for her because she starts doing damage. Poe starts ditching out specials with his amazing die to support extra damage, and the hired gun is just kind of hanging around going, yo, I'm building up for the finals. Also, his 2 resource dice are there to generate the potential to play the big cards that you would normally have used Poe Dameron's special ability to discard and get the advantage. Now, this is a budgetist deck aside from the 4 legendaries in here, which is kind of stupid, but I had them lying around, just not being used, and might as well use them for the deck. They could easily be, aside from Poe, replaced with other support cards. Running the Imperial Armory is because of the amount of upgrades that are great in this deck, and you want to reduce their cost because you might end your turn on a hired gun resource, then Imperial Armory claim, and then put into play one or two or three cost upgrades in your hand. Preferably, this can actually play a few upgrades for free in this deck, but you might preferably go for like reducing the cost of a lightsaber or DL44. Without further ado, let's head into the deck list now that I've explained some combinations. The events of the deck are 2 Hidden Run. Hidden Run is the red 0 cost event that has ambush, meaning you get another turn after activating it, and it simply activates one of your red characters. Self-explanatorily, this activates Poe and lets you roll out, hoping to get that special. 2 Squad Command is pretty stable for 2 non-unique character decks, because this activates both your hired gun and your Padawan during the same turn. Very, very, very move early on if you want the aggro to get the control and then take the armory. 2 Logistics to provide resources for weapons, so you can, I've actually managed to pump out 2 free weapons because my hand was good enough during the first turn using this with the Imperial Armory battlefield. So this spot a red character, resolve one of your dice showing resources, increases value by 1, is really, really great with the resources over here on the hired gun, and the fact that people tend to focus Padawan in the early game because she's the one you get to build on early. Right, running 2 Unpredictable, it has ambush again and simply says reroll a die, yours or your opponent's. Mostly I try to get lucky on Poe using this, or try to, if I don't have resources, reroll the hired gun. The thing is, the ambush makes it great in this case because then if you get the special on Poe, and that's a big if, but it's a statistical probability that you might get it, so it's worth a try. You get to resolve that die straight out of the bag and just do lots of damage. Running 2 Field Medics, again because the Padawan gets under fire like crazy, so healing 2 damage is very, very good. Also, with the amount of extra resource generation this deck has, the Field Medic just makes good sense since it's a 1 cost event. Going into the supports, BB-8 is one of the few you don't actually want to discard on Poe, you just want him to sit there and help you re-roll using his special ability. He says, re-roll this die and one of your other dice, do not remove the die from your pool after resolving this ability. Meaning that if you roll the special on him, you get to re-roll the die on Poe and then hopefully get the special. And he also has the focus, which is great with Poe, because that means you can get to turn one of your other die into the one you want, going for Poe's special, and then hopefully going for a good discard. Running 2 black market because you want one of them on the field at some point during the game to make the 2 focus or the +2 range, depending on your hand. The draw 2 card special, you may play an upgrade from your hand, decreasing its cost by 1, is also very great. And of course the other one with Poe special, you can discard this, get the 2 focus, and go for hammering down your opponent using the Padawan and the hired gun plus their upgrades, which is a really, really great combo. And if in a tight situation, it can provide 2 shields, but I haven't done that yet. Running 2 play the odds because it allows you to reroll one of your yellow dice. Many of the cards and supports and upgrades, just supports and upgrades really, in this deck are yellow, meaning that getting to reroll it is pretty good. And since it's a support, using an action, you can do this once per round. It's pretty good. Running 2 is great. Getting 2 resources off the hired gun is pretty easy, since he does have that 33% chance of rolling a resource. So Play the Odds is a great card if you're running hired gun decks, and yeah. So a Millennium Falcon is pretty obligatory, since it's a very, very crazy card using Poe Padawan. Discard this, and you could go for the special, of course. That's the meh one actually for me, because I usually go for the discard this to do 4 range damage. It's just like having an event in your hand with Poe that just says do 4 damage. You could also go for, if you're in a bad situation, you know what your opponent has in their hand. They could have been, if you're a lucky bastard, you might actually get to use the free discard during turn 1 and stop a Mind Probe from going off before it gets data crunched. That could be a really, really great play with this as well. Paying the 5 is not something you want to do in this deck. This is solely here for discarding and then using its great variety of dice sides, play it to your advantage and gain the field. A black one, of course, Poe's X-Wing had to go with the Poe Padawan deck, and it does sort of well. It's like a tiny Millennium Falcon. I usually want to play this actually because I would like to reuse the special if possible, but I have discarded this twice now to just do 3 damage and use it to finish off my opponent's low health characters. So yeah, it's also playable like that. Right, weapons incoming. These are the important guys. We are running 2 DH-17 blaster pistols. It is a 1-cost gun, and that is sort of why it's here, because it's easy to put down if you just get the battlefield. You get it for free during your first turn, and I say that because the Padawan will have an equipment by it at the end of your first turn. You get this for free on your Padawan, so it's like, yep, yeah, that's my first move, and then you can just like commanding squad or just roll it for anything really. Such a great weapon with a 1, 2, 3 damage sides and a shield. I really like this as a staple to go with any deck that can run red weapons and doesn't just solely focus on control. Running a single raised staff for control purposes, it has melee damage and it gets reduced to 1 cost during your first turn again. So if you open your hand with this, of course not during the first turn, but the Padawan is set for itself to have reduced during the turn. So and it has a lot of damage sides, scaling well with the Padawan. The control is the special, remove a die showing damage, I'm sorry, melee or ranged, which this deck uses to gain the upper hand by removing non-modified size and taking away modified from your opponent by removing those. Running 2 lightsabers because this is my favorite weapon in the entire game that isn't a legendary. I love redeploy weapons in free character decks, so paying free for this is no problem at all, because you know if you started on the Padawan, you play it during your first turn, it just takes 2 resources. Then you roll her out and she gets killed. Okay, you switch to Poe, and then it also gets carried over to the hired gun, meaning that you've paid 2 resources during your first turn for a weapon you might have had for 8 rounds. Oh, that's too much because this is an aggro deck. You will mostly have one during the 4th round, to say the least. So yeah, but it does a lot of damage, including unblockable from its special, which is great, and it can produce resources. Running 2 DL-44 heavy blaster pistols. It has ambush, which is bloody great in my opinion, meaning you get to turn again, and after you play it, you force an opponent to choose and remove one of the dice. This is one of those funny things where I like to, if I get this during my turn 1, I like to hang back and be like, okay, I'm gonna roll the hired gun, I'm gonna roll the Poe Padawan, And then when my opponent has finally rolled something, or maybe Jangoed or something, then I'm going to be like, hey, DL44, get rid of some of those dice. Taking away some of the profit they could have had during their first turn. In the late game, removing dice is self-explanatorily good for anyone who's played even a few games of Destiny. So how good it is during that time, I really won't have to explain. It has a lot of rain damage, meaning that it synchronizes mostly with Dameron and the hired gun. But since, to me, splitting the damage between melee and range hasn't been a problem for any of my decks yet. I might just be lucky, but it seems to work out for me most of the time. Getting second chance in here is a great thing, because it means this deck has an effective health pool of, when you draw this, of 28 plus 9, that's 37 health right there. No shields, it's just like, that is of course including the field medic heals as well. So what it does is it revives your hired gun. If hired gun gets knocked out, as I said, he will 9 out of 10 times be the last character standing. Second chance him, he comes back with 5 health once he gets defeated. Meaning that this deck doesn't die at the end to Crime Lord. You have to kill this deck, basically kill 4 characters. That's just so great. So running one of these, and I'm hoping to trade for another one, so I might actually include 2 if we get to that point. Right, I'm running 2 Diplomatic Immunity. Again, this is a 4-cost card. 4-cost card. Sorry, my Danish English. The shields from this die can be given to any of your characters distributed as you wish, and it has 2 focus. So this is of course an obvious target for the Poe Dameron special ability. Discard this, get 4 shields distributed as you wish. So that's like, hey, another free health on Padawan, meaning bringing her to 10, another one on hired gun, that brings him to 10. 32 health. Yeah, that's a fair turn 1 play. It also does have the 2 focus again, so if you're holding 2 of these, you can focus 1, then split into the special. That's actually pretty good. So I like to run 2 diplomatic immunities in my decks, even though they are aggro. If I have a way of using the effect, like say with Poe Dameron's effect. Otherwise, I might just include 1 or 0. Running 2 Jedi Ropes is because of the focus die. This is not an aggro card, I know that. This is a shield up during your turn 1. But it is not just a shield up during your turn 1, because it is also a focus die, or a resource die. So again, this deck has a lot of resource control, meaning that you get to play out your upgrades, hopefully, and get to just destroy your opponent. And using the focus from this, I actually play this in Poe the most of the time to give him 2 extra shields, bring him to 14 health. Effectively, and allowing him to roll the focus himself he needs to set up the special. So yeah, that's why I like this. Alright, final card of the deck is also the supremely most powerful, one of my most powerful cards in the entire game, I think. One of the Force is a 4-cost upgrade ability that goes on blue character only. So why is this great with a 7 health character is that even though you don't manage to actually bring this on the Padawan during the game, you have a very high chance of proccing one of its abilities using the special of Poe Dameron. Meaning you could get the free focus, and let's just face it, if you get free focus that late in the game so that the Padawan has actually been killed off, those free focus are going to give you the damage you need to finish the game. That has happened 3 times so far playing this deck, and that's actually quite a lot for a small statistic with 1 legendary in the deck. So yeah, I like the focus, I like the range damage. Setting up the free focus, you might want to scale into the range damage, or you will want to scale into range damage from the hired gun and the Poe and their upgrades to go for the finishing blow of your opponent. So that is this is a creative deck, as I said. This isn't in no way, shape or form meant to be meta. There's no electroshock in here, there's no real control your opponent's card. There could have been a use the Force or 2 to turn Poe Dameron's dice around. But the reason I haven't played these in here is because I like to see what creative decks can do at local game stores. And since this isn't meant to take the tournament, but simply meant to be fun, I think this is it's an interesting approach to the game to just go like, hey, you know what, these 3 characters actually look pretty fun, let's try playing them together, see what happens. So I would like to hear if any of you done any of such decks. If you have, let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.